though you both are, sophomores and a freshman, it's still an amazing opportunity to hear about because it's going to be something that you can be geared up for to apply for in the next couple of years. So I would love to get started if that's
Yeah,
okay.
go for it.
Okay.
And I'm
Um,
recording right now, so thank you so much.
yeah, no problem. Yeah, so I'm Jordan Jones. I'm a part of the Act 6 team under Degree to Change. That's the organization that I work for, and just super excited to be here this morning with you all, just to share about Act 6 and more of the program. And thank you, Elizabeth, for sharing the names of the students that are present. So, again, what's up, Isaac? What's up, Eli? What's up, Angie? Just looking forward to sharing more about Act 6 with you three. So, just give me a moment as I share my screen, and then we'll get started with the presentation. So, if y'all could give me just a thumbs up that you can actually see my screen, I think that would be great. Perfect. Let me share the slideshow. Okay. So again, I'm going to be talking with you all about Act 6. And I would just love if you just, if you have questions, please unmute yourself or just type in the chat box. Feel free to ask questions along the way because I love to answer questions. And so, again, my name is Jordan Jones, part of the Act 6 team under Degrees of Change. And just a little bit about me. So I was born and raised in Tacoma. I'm a first generation college student along with my twin sister, Danae Jones. I graduated with a Bachelor of Arts in Sociology from Seattle Pacific University, and I got my master's degree at Seattle University in Transformational Leadership. I was super happy and grateful about these experiences, but I share this with you because it was expensive. It cost a lot of money. I still have student loans today, still paying on them. But I'm just grateful for that experience. But if I knew about Act 6, well, actually, I did know about Act 6. If I would have taken the application process more seriously, if I would have said to myself, hey, this is something that's going to help me to be able to afford college over the next 4 years at the partner colleges that are under Act 6, then I would have taken it more advantage of the opportunity. And so for myself, I'm going to be sharing about Act 6. And I see a question in chat that says, what is transformational leadership? So really quickly, transformational leadership is a type of leadership where you transform as a person, where you're learning about other people and their experiences and how you're coupling or how you're pulling together your experience with other people, and out of that becomes a transformation. And so for myself, I just learned a lot about different areas and topics while I was in graduate school, and I was able to again meet some amazing people, learn some amazing things, and able to have that degree. So that's how I could share more about that later on if we had the time. But going back to Act 6. So Act 6 is a scholarship and leadership program. And so it is a full tuition scholarship and leadership program. And who is it for? It's for those who want to use their education to make a difference on campus and at home. And so I have a tagline on the right of the slide that says, we're calling diverse and emerging leaders who love their city. Now, when we're talking about leadership, I know that there are certain images and certain things that people place on leaders, and they may think that you need to be a part of the student council, or you have to be a part of ASB, you have to be the president. While all of those things are great and we're looking for those applicants, we're also looking for the students that take care of their siblings while they're at home. We're also looking for the students that volunteer at their church or somewhere in their community, because there is no cookie cutter type of leadership. And so if you fall under that category, if you're like, hey, well, I take care of someone at my home, I have a job and I make sure that I'm giving money to my parents and my guardian and whomever to make sure that I'm taking care of them, then Act 6 is for you. And we want those leadership qualities out of you. And so also, do you love your community? Do you love the Tacoma and Seattle area? Especially for you, Angie, and any other seniors that you may know of. If you're graduating in 2021, then you qualify to be a part of this scholarship. And I know for my freshmen and sophomores, you're not there yet, but definitely keep this in mind as you move on in your high school career. So talking about Act 6 and our five partner, I want to talk about our five partner colleges. So our five partner colleges include Whitworth, Gonzaga, Pacific Lutheran, St. Martin's, and Northwest University. So this scholarship, the full tuition scholarship, is applied to all of those colleges, and you can't take the scholarship anywhere else. This slide here, I just want this to serve as encouragement to you all. These are Tacoma-Seattle Act 6 graduates. So these are people who have gone through the Act 6 program. They received the scholarship, and they've now gone on to do amazing things. Some of these people I know personally, some of these people I've heard about, and they're in all different types of sectors. Some are teachers, some are in the medical field, some are directors of youth programs, some are getting their doctorate degrees, and even some are in law school. And so I just want this to serve as encouragement. Is like, if some of these people are someone you aspire to be, or if they look like you, or if you're like, hey, that's something, sounds like something I'd be interested in. These are people who have been able to go through this leadership program, receive this scholarship, and truly be leaders in their community. So I just wanted to show you this slide to say, hey, who's the who of Act 6? So what are the benefits of being a scholar? So again, you're already getting, if you are selected as an Act 6 scholar, you're going to be receiving that full tuition scholarship and leadership program. But there's also a benefit of a number of other benefits. So we have cadre support. And so a cadre is a group of students that come together for a specific purpose. And if upon being selected as an Act 6 scholar, you would be selected and you would be going to your campus or your college within a group of other students. And you all are going to be equipping each other with the tools to help each other, support each other, succeed academically, and ultimately to grow as service-minded leaders while you're on campus and as you come back into your community. That campus support. We have dedicated staff members, professors, people who are already on our five partner colleges. They're going to be there to help you succeed. They're going to be there to give you that support. So right now we have on our partner colleges, there are people who are meeting with our scholars regularly on a month-to-month basis. And there are also people who meet individually with that staff member to make sure that they're getting the support that they need. So with our intentional trainings, we make sure that we train up our scholars to understand, number one, what they're getting themselves into in terms of being an Act 6 scholar. And what I mean by that is understanding the ins and outs of your financial aid, understanding the different type of leadership styles there are. Other intentional trainings include something that may be beneficial to you, such as time management, budgeting, how to advocate for yourself in the classroom. So there are all different types of trainings that we make sure that we implore in you. So that way, when you go onto campus, not only are you ready for that first year, you're going to continue to get support along your 4 years. And then due to COVID-19, we're pausing on workshops and social events. But typically we would have workshops and social events where, for example, one is called convention. And this is where students, past scholars, past scholars, donors, people who are just affiliated within the Act 6 network can come and just meet together. And this is a time for you to be able to network, share your story with other people, meet other people from different cadres within the Act 6 network. And it's just such a wonderful time. And then other social events that go along the way as well. So here's something that really excites me. And I hope it's exciting for you all too, especially you, Angie, as you're a senior. And so when you're doing our Act 6 application, you're going to fill out this one application, and that's going to help you be able to apply to these 5 colleges that you see on the screen. So as I've mentioned, we have 5 partner colleges. So your one application is going to serve as regular admissions pools to these 5 colleges when you apply for Act 6. So what that means is that you have less applications that you have to fill out. And on top of that, the application fees are taken away. There are none because you've now applied to these 5 colleges through one application. I think that's super cool because that's less work for you and that's more college options. And so let's say that even you're not selected as an Act 6 scholar. You went through the process, you didn't make it through, you're still going to be considered to be accepted into one of these 5 institutions, and that's depending upon your choice. So by that alone, I would believe that it's a great opportunity for anyone to apply through our Act 6 portal, just because it just gives you a ton of options. And so really quickly, before I pause with any questions, I just wanted to go over the cost of college. I was doing a little bit of digging and I found that tuition at Whitworth is $45,050. And I found that tuition at Gonzaga is $46,060. Now, when you're adding that money up over 4 years, that's a lot of money to be shelling out for a college, right? And then on top of that, there's room and board, which is $12,150 at Whitworth, $12,951 at Gonzaga. Act 6 is the only full tuition, full need scholarship in Tacoma-Seattle. What I mean by full need is that depending on the results of your estimated family contribution, so when you fill out the FAFSA or the WAFSA, let's say that your EFC is 0. That means that Act 6 is going to help to ensure that your room and board, your mandatory college fees, those are going to be covered. Now, let's say that you have a little bit of EFC and maybe about $5,000 or $6,000. That means that the FAFSA is looking at your family and what they can contribute. So though your family may have to come out of pocket, your parents or your guardian may have to come out of pocket at $6,000. Act 6 is going to cover up to that amount minus the 6 from your EFC. So definitely, just as you're thinking about going to college, think about Act 6. Think about, this is something, or this is a program, this is a leadership and a scholarship opportunity that can help me offset the cost of college. And you have more of an opportunity to go to one of our 5 partner colleges, which I think is amazing. So right now, I'm just gonna pause and I'm gonna see if any of you have any questions. Maybe there's something that you just want a little bit more clarification on, but please don't be shy at all. I would love to answer any questions you have.
I have 2 questions.
Yes.
So when you are applying through your portal, does that mean you get to apply to all 5 of those colleges for no fee?
That is correct. So you have a preference of which colleges that you would like to go to within our 5. So for example, let's say I want to attend all 5 if I had the opportunity. So maybe Gonzaga is my first choice, St. Martin's is my second, PLU is my third, Northwest is my fourth, Gonzaga is my fifth. So based upon that preference order, let's say you get the Act 6 scholarship, because I put one college as my preference, then that could potentially be the one that I would go to. And so it definitely depends on the preference, but in the end, which I'm going to cover later on, it's ultimately the college's decision as to whether you're going to be admitted to that college. So let's say Gonzaga is my first choice, but for whatever reason, I'm not admitted there, but St. Martin's is my second. Because of my preference order, St. Martin's would be that college that I'm going to go to. And then, it just continues to go on. So you don't have to choose all 5. You can choose 1, you can choose 3, whatever number you choose, but it just depends on that preference order. But to answer your question, yes.
So my other question is, say my EFC is $5,000 or something, but I still qualified for maybe a partial Washington college grant. Maybe say they're going to give me $3,000, just say. So, and I have Act 6. So Act 6 will cover the cost of tuition, and it will cover the remainder of the room and board and mandatory fees after my EFC. So then for that amount for my EFC, can I apply my Washington college grant to that?
Yes, you can. That's something that just has to get worked out through the university and the financial aid office. But typically we have scholars that have additional scholarships on top of the Act 6 scholarship to make sure that any costs are being offset.
Wonderful. That is okay. And so if my EFC is 0, then you guys will help me with room and board, but I could still have that Pell Grant that I would get from the federal government to help me with maybe other costs associated with college, like books or transportation or something.
Yes. And
Very cool.
and the way that would be worked out, again, would all be through the financial aid office. But at bare minimum, Act 6 would make sure that full tuition is covered along with mandatory college fees. And then those needs and things that you just talked about, like books, travel expenses, things of that nature. So
awesome. Well, thank you so much. Those are my 2 questions. That's really a generous scholarship you guys have.
Yes. So thank you very much. So with Angie, you asked the question, so you can rank. Yes, you can rank. So again, if Gonzaga is your top choice, put Gonzaga as your top choice. If Whitworth is your second, put Whitworth as your second. And the schools know the preference order. So I think the answer to that question is, so we as an Act 6 network, as we're looking at the application of a student or looking at your application, we would know your preference order. And then based upon that, that's where it's locked in. So you can't change the preference order. So what I always tell students to do is do your research about each school. Make sure it's a school that you can see yourself at, whether that's calling the admissions number at one of these institutions, setting up a virtual campus visit, anything that you can just get to learn more about the institution, definitely do that. So that preference order is locked in and you can't change it. And we would know that based upon looking at your application. So thank you for those questions. I appreciate it. So now I want to move on to the application process. And so with the application process, if you're encouraged, you're like, yes, this is something that I'm a senior, this is something that I want to apply for, this sounds great to me, then I want you to go to www.act6.org. And I'm actually going to put it in the chat so that way everyone has it. And there, where you'll go there and you'll click apply now. And our site is Tacoma-Seattle. And there you'll see a getting started form. And the getting started form is just something that you're going to have that has, or you're going to input your email address and a password. Make sure that when you're using whatever email address you're going to use, you're able to access it at a different time. So you always make sure you always have access to that email. And so the main application consists of the essay, which I have the essay prompt on the left. We have a community or teacher recommendation. And so with that, my tip is always to ask early whoever you're going to select as your community member to speak on your behalf in a nice way, or your teacher. You could do either or. It doesn't have to be both, but it can be either or. And so the recommendation is just a form that's going to be completed online by a mentor, an employer, a teacher, a pastor, or another adult. And again, it could be a teacher, but make sure that it's somebody that you trust. Make sure it's somebody that knows the ins and outs of who you are. They've laughed with you, they've cried with you, they've seen your struggles, they've seen your strengths, right? You just want that person to be able to speak very, very great upon your behalf. So that's the type of person that you want to be your recommender. The SAT and ACT scores are optional this year. It's test optional. So that means that you do not have to share your SAT or ACT scores within the application. Now, if you want to, if you believe that's going to enhance your application, then definitely go ahead. But again, that's optional. And then other things you're going to be filling out are just like a basic college application. So you're going to be filling out that FAFSA or WAFSA, talking about your filling in, your financial information or your family's financial information, talking about your extracurricular activities and other things that are going to help you look as if you're a great applicant. And so The deadline is Tuesday, December 1st. And so that's coming up. And I always tell students like, hey, you want to make sure that I see in the chat, it says Upward Bound Advisor. Yes, use your Upward Bound Advisor as well for that recommendation form. That's great. So again, going back to the deadline is Tuesday, December 1st. Please submit by that time. Those of you who are going to be applying for the Act 6 scholarship, we cannot receive application materials after that deadline. And so again, start early, ask people early who's going to be a part of that process. The selection process. So as a part of being a part of the team, as we have other community members who are coming in and going to be reading all of the students' applications, we place high value on an applicant's teamwork, critical thinking, communication skills, academic potential, and then other factors. And so teamwork, are you able to work with other students? Are you able to work with other people? Critical thinking, are you able to think quickly on your feet? Are you able to contribute to solving a group problem during an academic session or a discussion? What's your communication style? Like, how do you communicate? How do you best show up? And then your academic potential. These institutions place high value on students' academic potential and making sure that they stay within good standing at the university. And so I always tell students, maybe you didn't have the hottest freshman or sophomore year, but your junior year and your senior year, you're crushing it. Or maybe you didn't have the hottest junior year, but your senior year, you're crushing it. Either way, you just want to be able to make sure that you're showing within your application process, and that you're showing these colleges that you have a preference of going to, that you show academic promise and that you're going to fulfill your academic duties as you're on campus. And so other factors that are included within the application process or the selection process include, what's your commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion? Are you open to learning from other people who share different backgrounds from you, such as different ethnic backgrounds, economic backgrounds, faith backgrounds? How can you envision yourself showing up as a leader on campus? And how can you envision yourself showing up as a leader at home? So these are other factors that are included. And these are things that you can mention in your essay and anywhere else within the application process. So now moving on to the timeline. So within the timeline, so again, that online application is due December 1st. And during that time, this is where everyone's submitting their applications. This is a very competitive scholarship. So there are many students that are going to be applying for this. But all that to say, you should apply too. Just because everyone else is shooting their shot for this, so that means that you should shoot your shot too. Okay. So the deadline for the online application is December 1st. And if you are selected to move on into phase 2, during phase 2, and phase 3, we typically have these events in person, but due to COVID-19, we've relaxed that, we've paused on that, and everything is virtual. And so this is where in phase 2, you're going to be submitting a video. And so we want this to be a supplement to your application. And this video is where you're going to be responding to a prompt that is actually on our website. And it's going to be a 3-minute unedited video that you submit. Now this is different from what we've done in the past, but this year, this is just what we're doing. So again, this video is going to supplement it. And so as we have a group of community readers and viewers who are going to be reading the applications, viewing the videos, upon the selection of those who move on to phase 3. Phase 3 is a virtual campus visit that's going to be taking place between February 6th and the 21st. And what I mean by virtual campus visit is that students are going to have an opportunity to hear more from our partner colleges, and maybe the ones that are in their preference, or not maybe, they're going to be hearing from the ones that are in their preference order. So that way they can understand more about the school, but also it's a time for students to participate in multiple evaluation activities. And so during this time, you may be asked to go through a personal interview. You may be asked to be in a real-time writing task, have an academic seminar discussion, or be in a group's problem-solving activity. And so what we want this to be is for the students to showcase who they are, for their personalities to show up, and for them to, what I say, show up and show out. So be able to exemplify who you are as a person, be able to exemplify who you are as a leader or a potential leader. And during that time, this is where if you automatically make it to phase 3, you're going to be admitted into one of those 5 colleges that you selected in your preference order. So if you're not selected as an Act 6 scholar, but you made it to phase 3, you're automatically admitted into one of those colleges, which I think is super cool. But let's say you don't even make it to phase 3. Let's say you're at phase 2 and the decisions that's there, you don't move on. Remember, your application is still considered to be in the regular admissions pools. So you still have an opportunity to go to one of the colleges that you selected. So always remember that. And I think that, again, that's another great opportunity and reason to apply through the Act 6 application. And so just going to the final decision. So the final decision, we make selections of who's going to be the next cadre of Act 6 scholars on March 1st. And during that time, you have basically a week to talk with your family, your friends, your advisor, everybody who's been a part of this process with you. And you're going to say, hey, either I'm going to be an Act 6 scholar and I'm committed and I want to do this, or you can deny it. You don't have to take it. It's not something that you're binded in, right? So if you do decide I want to be an Act 6 scholar and I've been selected to go to Gonzaga, or I've been selected to go to Northwest, whatever that preference college of yours was, we're going to make an announcement to the public. We're going to be telling your advisors, we're going to be telling our partner colleges all about these amazing students that have made it through the process, the selection process. And so that's just a very exciting time for everybody. So that is the timeline. So before I pause for any questions, I got 2 more slides. Just want to talk about some frequently asked questions and then some things to think about. So is Act 6 only for students of color? Is Act 6 only for first-generation college students? And are there any income requirements? Now, mind you, I'm just going to say the answer to all of these questions are no. But I just wanted to join those first 3 questions together because we want to make sure that as we're thinking about the selection process, as we're in the selection process, the goal of the Act 6 program is to select an intentionally diverse group of students. So we just don't want all the same type of students. We want students from different ethnic backgrounds, different economical backgrounds, different faith backgrounds. And we want to make sure that we're creating a cadre that's going to serve as a model of healthy and honest intercultural relationship. And so that's just the beauty of going to college in general. You're going to be able to meet different people from all different type of backgrounds. And we want to be able to help cultivate those skills for you when you do encounter students, professors, campus staff who are different than you. How do you show up as a person? How do you live in community with those people? And other questions are, do I have to be a U.S. citizen to apply? You do not. Your documentation status is not going to affect you to apply, or it does not affect the decision process either. Do I have to be a Christian to apply? These institutions are faith-based and they're social justice-based, but it does not mean that you have to be a Christian to apply. You can come from a different faith background. You may not even have a faith background, but we still want students to be able to explore these topics or be open to explore these topics as they come up in their college experience. And then lastly, is there a GPA minimum? No, there is not. But remember what I said, these institutions place high value on academic potential, and though the GPA is not a requirement, just always remember that you want to be able to show that you're able to keep up with the academic rigor or even excel to make sure that you're doing greatly as you're on campus. And that's not to say that you can't get help while you're on campus, right? You can't get help with your grades, or you can't get help with your studies, because there are resources and supports in place for that. But just keep in mind that while as you're going to college, you're thinking about going to college, that you got to step your game up a little bit more in the classroom. And so things to remember: deadlines. I want everybody who is on the call right now, I would love for you to just type in to the chat, what is the online application deadline? Go ahead and type that in. Excellent. Good job. Good job. I'm seeing it. Good job, y'all. Yes, December 1st. That is the deadline. So etch that in your brain. For those who are seniors, that's an important time. Make sure you're getting all your application materials in. My sophomores and my freshmen, though this doesn't apply to you, the deadline may change in the next couple of years as you're gearing up to apply for the Act 6 scholarship. Just always know that we're very keen on the deadlines. So another thing to remember is to start now. So Angie, I know I keep calling your name a lot just because I heard that you're a senior, but I want to encourage you to get started now. Definitely don't want you or any other seniors who are going to apply for the Act 6 scholarship to start at the last minute. You're going to need other people to be involved in this, right? You're going to need your parents or your guardians to be involved in this, either a teacher, another community member, maybe again, it's a pastor, a mentor, or whomever. And you're also going to need your high school counselor to be involved in this too. So you want to start as early as possible. And then lastly, get someone to help you. Maybe there's a student that you know that went through this process and they're able to speak to it more. Maybe your advisor understands the application process and they're able to help you. Either way, make sure you get someone to help you, and don't hesitate to reach out to people so that way you can get your questions answered. And so now I just want to pause and open the floor up for any additional questions that may have come along the way as I was speaking.
Do you know a student who went to PLU named Isaac Huey?
I actually don't.
Okay, that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that that's his last name. I'm like trying to remember. He was one of my students quite a few years ago. And he did get the Act 6 and went to PLU. And I haven't heard from him in a while. So I'm just like, do you happen to know him? So sorry.
Yeah, that's totally okay. Hey, that is a great question, and something that I should have shared at the beginning of the presentation. We're selecting up to 30 students for this scholarship and leadership opportunity. So it's up to 30 students. And so that's going to be broken down by the different partner colleges that we have. So there may be 5 at one, 7 at the other. It really just depends on how the selection process goes. But again, up to 30.
Has COVID affected the number of applicants you've received usually by this date, and or you being able to do your presentations? Do you normally like go into the schools and get to talk to kids?
Yes. So COVID-19, as it has, been challenging times for everybody. It definitely has been, I would say, challenging for us too, just because we are used to being inside of a school and sharing this information with students and sharing this information with advisors and counselors. And so even today, we would not be having this platform. I would be in front of you all, will hopefully be in front of you all. And so to go along with that, applications have slowed down, if I can be quite honest, just because we're still working on getting the word out and communications out with other schools. And that goes along with everyone else that is trying to send communications out to their students or anyone within the school district as well. So yes, it's definitely something that COVID-19 has definitely had a negative impact on what we're doing. And I don't want to put anyone on the spot, but just from anyone, oh, perfect. There's another question. How many students, is there any social media that students can interact or see the process? So yes, we are working on, that's a great question. Thank you. We're working on sending out different social media content and any different platforms that we're able to share more information about Act 6 under. And so what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to stop sharing, because what I'd like to do is share with you um, an info session that we're having tomorrow. So if there's any information that has not been covered by me and you have additional questions, like maybe we're, as we're talking right now, you're like, well, yeah, thank you, Jordan, for all of the information that you've given me. But I have additional questions. There's an info session that you can attend tomorrow. And that's going to be at 5 o'clock. And also maybe you're like, hey, well, I don't have any questions right now, but you might have a question later on at 3 o'clock today, because that's just how life works sometimes. So there's an info session that's happening tomorrow that's right there in the chat. And what I'm going to do is reach out to Miss Elizabeth, and I'm going to be sharing some workshops that we're going to be having, so that way students can feel more comfortable with their essay writing, because the essay is a big part of the application process, and we want to make sure that students feel confident about the essay that they're writing. And so we have workshops in order to help students start that process. And that's something that I'm going to be sharing right after this call as well. And then lastly, speaking to the social media content, we do have videos, and again, we're going to be sharing that out with our network, so that way students can see more of a little bit of fun content regarding Act 6. Yes, so things that can be posted to Instagram, things can be posted to Facebook, whether it's like a very short video, a quick snippet, or a picture that details more of the application process or the application deadline. That's where we're going to be sharing.
Upward Bound, Evergreen has 4 other Upward Bound grants, and they're located in Lakewood and Tacoma. So if it's okay with you, I'm going to pass on all of this information and this recording to those programs. They might reach out as well to take advantage of this and to make sure that they're letting their students know about this opportunity as well.
Absolutely. We'll love that. And that's the goal. That's what we want. We want people to be sharing as much information as possible about this, because we don't want to withhold any information from any potential Act 6 scholars in the future. So Eli and Isaac, I'm putting you both on the spot just because you're here. We have a small group, but just wondering if you had any questions, any thoughts about the application process, or does Act 6 sound like it would be a good fit for you? Like, yeah, what are you thinking? What's on your mind?
I think it would be a good opportunity. And I do have one question. To apply, do you have to be a senior, or can you do it as a junior?
So to apply, you have to be a senior. We're looking for students who are going to be ready to attend that college, moving on into the next year. So you have to be a senior to apply. But as you are thinking about being an Act 6 scholar, you definitely want to make sure you're tightening up things such as your grades. If there are extracurricular activities that you're a part of, definitely write those down so you remember. If there are any awards that you receive during your time at school, write those down too. So anything that you can help to prepare your application to make it look as full and great as possible, go ahead and do that.
I think this opportunity is really great, and I'm gonna be looking forward to taking a shot at this opportunity when I become a senior.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Yeah, I definitely don't want to keep you all for any longer than need be. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen one more time, so that way there's my contact information is up. And so I'm just going to go to the last slide, put in my contact info, and from current slide. Whoops, that's not it. There it is. So yeah, there's my contact information. I'm available via text. That's my work number. You can call me, and there's my email as well. Again, I love answering questions. I reach back out to people fairly quickly because I want to make sure that I'm respectful of their time, and you know, the answer to their question may be the one missing piece to that application. So again, very responsive, and would love to answer any questions that anyone has, or if you need additional help, that would be great too.
Can I ask one more question?
Of course.
So what kind of leadership is impressive to you guys? Do you like to see students who are student athletes, or like managers of a sport team? If a student did a service project as a sophomore, is it okay to talk about that as a senior? What kind of, like, the OSHA or medical kind of stuff, is that interesting? What are you guys interested in? What are you not interested in? What is leadership that you're like, I see all of this and I'm so tired of hearing any of this. I don't want to hear about this anymore.
That's a great question. So the way I would frame this is that everything that you've already mentioned is great. So if you're a student athlete, you're a manager of a sports team, if you are a part of OSHA, an orchestra club, anything that you feel as if has helped you to become more of a leader in terms of your communication increased, or maybe you were pushed to a limit that you never thought that you could be pushed to, or maybe you were put into a position that you thought you couldn't actually do, but you excelled at it. We want to make sure that students are able to capture those types of things. What we don't want is for a student to say, well, I worked at McDonald's and that's my leadership experience. That doesn't tell us anything about what you've done, right? That just shares that you had a job. That shares that you were able to receive money. But what did you learn as you were working at McDonald's? So if I was a student, I'd say I learned to serve people. I learned to listen to people as they told me their order. And what I mean serve is that I had to make the order to the correct, to their liking. And if a customer came in and they had a complaint, how did I handle the situation? So being able to take more out of your experience, regardless of what it is, take more out of your experience and make sure that you're able to capture that within your application. And so even if it's taking care of a younger sibling, maybe your younger sibling is one that bounces off of the walls and they might be super crazy, or they might be super fun. And how are you engaging them every day? If you have a loved one at home that you have to take care of and they're laying down all the time, what are acts of service that you've given them? So maybe you're responsible for making them food. Maybe you're responsible for making their bed. There are all different types of things that we want you to be able to pull out and capture out of your experience. But and regardless of from what year it was, just make sure that you capture it and you write it down and apply it to Act 6. Just make it relevant, make it sound good, make it sound great, and don't leave out any details that you think would be important. So that's how I would frame that.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So that concludes the presentation. Thank you all for your time. I appreciate you, Isaac, Eli, Angie, and those of you that are going to be listening to this recording. Remember, you can reach out to me at any time, or just the Act 6 staff in general. And we're just looking forward to seeing a bunch of applications and eventually who's going to be the next cadre of Act 6 scholars.
Thank you so much for coming. I super appreciate you. And thank you to the students who came. I really appreciate you guys as well.
All right.
Have a good day, everybody.
Bye, y'all.
You too.